Autumn for Black Tree, written and read by Oliver Tonick. This is a completed novella, read as a series. Enjoy the story from here on, or start from the beginning with the first episode. And now, back to the tale. Episode 2: Monsters and Decorations. Barley awoke with a start to the loud sound of metal clanging together. His eyes snapped open to see 3 men standing outside the canopy he had erected for the rain. They were clad in official-looking plated garb with tools for battle. The centermost one was banging his sword against his brass shield. "You, sir," he barked. "You're a knight?" Barley rubbed his eyes. "I am, of sort," he replied. "Then what are you doing outside the home of a servant girl? You belong in the palace, assisting his and her majesty." Barley glanced over at Paxiss' humble dwelling a few yards away. It was a small but sturdy cottage, little bigger than the bed that it housed. He couldn't tell for sure, but it appeared empty. He figured she had left to tend to her duties for the day. They had arrived in the early evening, and when he saw her small home, he insisted he did not put her out, so rather he chose to sleep outside, as he often did on his village quests. He had slept there overnight. "I owe the girl in this home a debt, sir. I'm not beholden to your queen," he said. "Bah! Everyone is beholden to her. I'm beholden, he is beholden," he gestured to his men beside him. "Even the king is beholden. If you walk in her land, fly her skies, or swim her waters, you have duty to the queen. Come now." The men pulled Barley to his feet. "Am I being detained for a crime?" No, said one of the other men, this one with a more friendly tone. "Someone of your stature simply must have conference with her majesty. She will not take kindly to a refusal." The men wrapped their hands under Barley's and escorted him in a kind of march toward the palace on the hill. Paxiss' dwelling was in clear sight of the palace, where she could easily go to attend to her duties. It wasn't long before he was at the entrance. The palace was reasonably sized for a home of luxury, and the servants ran in and out of it, carrying various building supplies. He was taken through a large door that was open due to traffic, but was guarded by 2 large soldiers standing at attention. He was led through long corridors that opened into a large room with high ceilings. Above them, a chandelier was being hung, and a woman stood below it, dressed in a deep maroon. She had a gleaming crown and a smile on her face as she told the workers exactly how she preferred it. As Barley approached, she caught sight of him, but a voice came from above. "There he is! You brought him! Thank you, Dibsley." Barley looked up to see a man dressed in a mustard-yellow cloak with another gleaming crown. He bounded down the stairs, pointing at Barley the whole way, and then addressed his wife when he reached the floor. "I told you I saw a man, didn't I? A knight. He was sleeping just outside in the servants' quarters." The queen's face was suddenly full of concern. "A man like you in the servants' quarters? Whatever for?" Barley took a knee and bowed his head before royalty. "I am honored, your majesty, and I apologize for coming into your domain unannounced, but I have business here." The 2 looked at one another, intrigued. "Well, I am Queen Caporia of Black Tree, and this is my husband, King Farron of Black Tree." "Business, you say?" the king said, echoing the knight. "Please rise and speak your name and purpose," said the queen. Barley did so. "I am Barley from the land of Reza. I have traveled to many villages, towns, and kingdoms, slaying beasts of various forms. I'm here to help, but my reasons for coming to your land are more personal. I am indebted to one of your people. I'm here to serve her and repay her kindness." Both of them looked at him with surprise and a bit of concern. The king inquired, "So you mean to tell me that you, a monster hunter, have wandered here to our land, but you have not come to investigate our monster problem?" Barley raised his eyebrows. "You have one to investigate?" "Surely you must know," he said. "Everyone in all the realms knows. Our kingdom is perpetually on the verge of crisis due to the fury of the beast that roams our land." "Sir, I have been to many realms, and I have never heard of this monster nor the state of your kingdom." The king scoffed as he gave a look to the queen. "I suppose there's some relief in that." The queen cleared her throat and looked away from him to Barley, feigning a smile. "So who, may I ask, is this subject of yours that you are indebted to?" "Paxiss is her name. She says she is your servant?" said Barley. The queen inhaled through her nose deeply. The king shifted uncomfortably as he looked at his wife. He then turned his gaze to the man standing at attention behind the knight. "You are dismissed." The men shuffled out in silence. Barley, sensing discomfort in the room, spoke up. "I know it's not customary to have a servant being served by another. I hope your respect for my station as a public servant will persuade you to allow me to continue my business here unencumbered. I have no intention of causing an upset." Barley found turning up the formalities with dignitaries tended to ease them a bit. No, said the Queen. "Please, feel free to fulfill whatever duty you feel bound to here, but please know we have nicer quarters available elsewhere." "Yes, certainly, it would be better than that crude tarp I could see you under from the balcony," said the King. "Thank you, I'm fine where I'm at. I'm used to it in my travels." "Well, you certainly are a man of the people," said the Queen. "But I insist, we will have it no other way. I'll have my men escort you to your new quarters." He nodded in recognition. "Thank you, Your Highness." Barley turned around to leave as the man the King called Dibsley came back and led him away. As he walked back toward the long corridor, he felt a strange silence in the room. Even the workers were suddenly quiet. He couldn't help but look back at them. The King and Queen both stared at him as he left. When the Queen caught his glance, she turned back to her chandelier project and began calling out to the workers again. The sounds resumed, but the King just kept staring. The gaze stayed until he was out of sight.